So as these four know, I do not take the MCAT. I'm going to become in July. But it is very beneficial every year that they talk about their experiences, because I know they had a particularly rough summer studying for this exam. But it is beneficial for you guys to learn tips, tricks, and how to tackle this beast of a test. So first, I think Molly wanted to talk about like how you generally prepared for the MCAT and like what study tools you used and like how you got to test day.
And maybe introduce yourselves too, because I'm not sure if
introduce
everybody
yourself
knows everybody.
What's up, guys? I'm Cole. I just matriculating next year to the master's program, and then I'll go to MCAT after that. But yeah, I started studying over Christmas break, probably around early December. I hit Anki really hard, specifically the miles down deck. I think that if you ask I don't think that there's a single person that made it through MCAT studying without using Anki. So does anybody not know what Anki is? Okay, Anki is like Quizlet, but better. It's spaced repetition. So you get specific decks for like a specific subject, and there will be four options like bad, okay, good, and great. And based on how well you know the card, you press, okay, let's say I know it, good. Now it'll give it to me in 10 minutes. You press good again, it'll give it to you in a day. You press excellent, it'll give it to you in 5 days. You press bad, it'll give it to you in a minute. And so it has this like algorithm, I guess that's the right word. And so it keeps it spaced repetition. It's a proven way to study. But yeah, there's individual decks that you can find online. A good resource is r/MCAT on Reddit. There's a bunch of extremely neurotic people that talk about their study tips, but Miles Down is the deck that I used specifically. It's more condensed out of the other ones that you'll hear about, but I found that it was really good for content review. Splits it apart into the different sections, and I did that about an hour a day from December. I hit it hard, but then over the spring semester I did about an hour or two a day, just going over hitting my cards for the day. You set a limit, so I would do like 20 new cards per day per section, on top of the review cards. But I did that all the way up until the end of the school year, and then I hit it more hard and started to do more practice questions and practice MCATs.
Okay, I'm Crescenzo. I think what you're going to hear from me is a common theme of what I learned you shouldn't do more than maybe what you should do. So I'll kind of just start giving you the overview of what I did do. So similarly, Nicole, I started over Christmas break. The first thing I did was I used an AAMC practice exam to take a diagnostic. Do not do that. I would say use a non-AAMC practice exam as your diagnostic. You're going to want to save the AAMC material for when you're actually prepared to get a representative score of about where you're at. So use a non-AAMC exam for your first diagnostic. I did that around Christmas break. I actually scheduled an exam in, I think it was April. Shouldn't have done that. I ended up pushing it back. So I studied very briefly throughout the semester. I was taking Physics 2, and Physics 2 was torture, so I didn't have much time to dedicate, as much time as I would like to dedicate towards the MCAT. But mostly all I did during that semester was Anki. I'd say bare minimum, if there's a day you need a break, whether you're studying for an exam in your classes or something like that, bare minimum, do your Anki cards. That's number one piece of advice from me, I think. So the school year goes by, I finish up there, I start using AAMC practice material, and I fly by that pretty quick. There's not a ton of questions. You're probably going to hear from them a little bit about UWorld, so I'll let them talk about that. But I went through all of the AAMC, or just about most of the AAMC material, and I did that multiple times, spacing out my practice exams. I was at about every 2 weeks for exams, so that I could take them all before my actual exam date. And then I took my exam, and yeah, that's basically all I did.
Okay, so I'm Harshu, and I'm matriculating to NAMA next year. So I started studying for the MCAT like after winter break, once like spring semester started, because I went on vacation. But I started off doing content reviews, so I read the Kaplan books, and I also did that simultaneously with Anki. So I also did the Miles Down deck. So how I did this is I would like pick a book and I'd read a chapter a day and then like read all the books that way. And then Miles Down actually like follows the Kaplan books. So whatever chapter I did in the Kaplan book, I would release those specific cards like in that chapter for Miles Down. So if I read the chapter, took notes, whatever, did the questions in it, and then I would do those specific like Anki cards that like had to do with that chapter. And so like rather than like having a limit on how many cards I open a day, that's how I would do it. Like I'd manually open those cards. So I did that basically all of spring semester. I was planning on doing cars stuff that time too, but I personally noticed that the more cars I did, the worse I did. I feel like it's just like, because cars, I feel like you just have to like get out of your head for it.
Does anyone not know what cars is?
Oh, yes. It's, okay, the cars section, is like the reading section of like the ACT or SAT. It's more like reading comprehension, or like you read these passages and you have to like answer questions based off of that. And personally, like, the more I thought about it, and like, you kind of have to take your mindset out of cars to do well. Like, you have to use no common knowledge or background knowledge into them. So the more I did them, the worse I felt and the worse I did, so I like stopped doing cars during the semester. So all I did spring semester was read the books and then do the Anki cards associated with them, and that's what I did. And it like, it like kind of like piles on towards the end of the semester because you open so many cards. So like at the end of like the spring semester, I was doing like 500 cards a day because it just like, when you do it, it just piles on like the algorithm does. So anyways, I did that, and then at the end of spring semester, and then summer started, and that's like low-key when I hit questions. So the two things I would, also Miles Down is really good for all of the things except Psych Soc. For Psych Soc, like specifically, I would do the Pankow deck, because Miles Down is just kind of like very vague in general, but Pankow really hits like the specific, like specificities in Psych Soc, which I think would be helpful. But anyways, so summer, I really hit hard on questions. So I downloaded UWorld, like I bought UWorld, and it's like a question pack thing that you buy. And so personally, when I was doing UWorld, I was learning more than I was testing my knowledge. So I started out doing UWorld, and I would do like 20 to 40 questions for each specific like subject, I guess. So like 20 questions of physics, 20 questions of OChem, Gen Chem, and they have all the sections. So I would just kind of hit questions hard at the beginning because I was done with content review after spring semester. So I would hit those questions, and then I would do like a cars section every Friday. So I would just kind of do that like throughout like the summer. But I actually didn't start taking exams till, well, we had 6 MCAT exams released to us. Okay, 6 MCATs released to us. So I scheduled my MCAT for end of June. So I like took an MCAT every week, like Friday or Saturday, whenever your MCAT's scheduled. I would take it every week coming out of MCAT. So like I took it June 27th. So I started taking them in like May, like mid-May, and I would take it every week up until my actual date. So I like saved those, and I didn't take a diagnostic because I knew that would stress me out, or like I would either not study enough or study like too much. But I didn't take a diagnostic, so I like saved all those MCATs and took it every week out from my actual MCAT date. So I kind of grinded UWorld questions, and I did those like a lot, like when I was studying. And then when I started taking MCAT dates, I also bought the AAMC question bank, which you buy those in addition to like the AAMC like exams, so they like come together. So I would start doing those like when I started doing my MCAT like exams, like when I would start taking those. So I did about like 5 to 6 weeks of MCAT question stuff from the AAMC too, and I don't recommend like finish UWorld, but if anything, you have to finish the AAMC question banks because that is written by the people that write the MCAT. So I would finish that. I would prioritize finishing that over finishing UWorld because there are like over 3,000 questions in UWorld. So it's just like a lot of stuff. You don't have to get through it, but I would do AAMC questions. Like I would definitely finish that. Yeah, and I would do Anki continuously throughout the whole process. Don't let go Anki. Don't like miss it for a day because then you would have like 1,000 cards a day. But I would just like, if anything, like Krishabi said, you have to do Anki every day because it helps reinforce that stuff. But I would not use that for content review. Like I would not use that for content only. I would read the books.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Prisha and I'm matriculating to MCAT for the master's here in the following year. Starting off, so I started content review over winter break and I did Princeton review books. And then I would say probably into January I was done with content review. And that's actually when I started Anki, the Miles Down deck. And I also started the UWorld questions, which I think were really helpful for like gauging how to read the passages and like the true level of difficulty it can get when it comes to questions. But I honestly use it as a learning tool more than like as how I would perform for the AAMC questions because they are different and like it is helpful, but it is not the exact same as AAMC. So take that as you will. I would say once the spring semester wrapped up and I went back home, I still did reworld practice questions, but this is when I truly started the AMC questions, and I would space them out alongside UWorld and Anki as well, but I would also start taking the AMC practice exams one every week. The summer is actually when I saw like what I would need to change and do differently, so I also started the Panko Anki deck for Psych Soc, which I would say that you should honestly start that earlier than when you go home in the summer, because it is a lot of cards, and you don't want to pile it all within a few weeks. I also would go through UWorld, Anki, Milestone, and Psych Soc from Panko, and the AMC questions along with their practice exams. And then this is also when I would like try to wrap up any missing content review or details I had forgotten. So like, I would look at like Khan Academy videos, or I would look through like the Khan Academy 90-page Psych Soc document as well. But that's pretty much all I would say is for the summer. It's just like a little bit of everything combined. So you don't want to like drop one thing and pick up another, because then like you're just gonna screw yourself over. But yeah, I would say that's kind of like the rundown of how I approached it.
So real quickly, just since we'll give you guys a little breakdown of how the exam actually goes. First section is chemistry and physics. It's 90 minutes on every section.
Yeah.
90 minutes on every section. Chemistry and physics. Then it goes cars, which, you know, it's hard being the second one, especially if you have a rough chemistry and physics. So piece of advice, after every section, it's over, clear it from your mind, get ready for the next section. And you have a break in between that section for 10 minutes. So after cars, you'll get a 30-minute break, and then you'll move on to biology and biochemistry. 10-minute break, you'll move on to Psych Soc, and then you're done.
And also like to go off what you said, I would recommend reading the Psych Soc book, the textbook, exactly like to study. I know a lot of people just like watch the con videos. They do that, or there's like a 90-page doc or a 300-page doc of just like accumulation of all the con Psych Soc videos that I would choose to read instead than the textbook, and then you would do pen calculate resource.
I would also say to not read the Cars book from Hinson, Review, or Kaplan. I think your best bet is honestly practice over what strategy they might have wrote in the book. In terms of practice, I know Jack Weston is a daily Cars passage, which everyone does say is pretty helpful. So if you want to kind of get into the swing of reading a Cars passage every day, I think that would be great. I know UWorld also has a Cars section that like you can do their passages, but I think the most representative is the AMC Cars questions.
And I wanted to go off of what Harsha said. I know you hear us throwing around a lot of resources, but everybody can agree, without a doubt, you 100% have to use all of the AMC material. It's not an option. It's like $300 some. You have to pay for every individual test, but that's a non-negotiable. Like,
It's a bundle that you can buy.
yeah, but yeah, that's without a doubt you must buy that. The other,
It's the most like representative of the.
You'll know what you're walking into on test day. You know, I've heard people say, well, plus or minus 2 points from your average is where you're going to score.
Anyone have any questions for them right now?
So are the break times like set? What can you have to
So you're going to finish your section, you'll raise your hand, the proctor will come over, and they'll release you for your break. If you don't want to take it, you don't have to. You can sit there and they'll start the next one for you. But to take the break, you do have to leave the room that you're in from your computer. You have to leave the room. There's no one keeping track of time for you. If you go over on your break, your test will start and you'll lose that time. So just be thoughtful of that, 10 minutes. Normally I'd go to the bathroom, come back, drink water, maybe eat something, go back in. Don't use the whole 10 minutes unless you really think you need it. And I don't ever even remember if there's a clock in the room.
there was.
But maybe look at that, keep that in mind.
So one thing I would say, about breaks is that when I was doing my practice exams, I would make sure I was under the time. So like if the break is 10 minutes, I had to be back in my seat by like 6 or 7. And you also have to count with the fact that, okay, cool.
No, you're doing it on purpose.
Everybody's
I'm
thinking
not.
it, it's fine. I have middle school boys.
I would
So.
account for the fact that you have to scan your palm. You you have to, if you want like water or your snack, you have to go open your locker. You also have to scan your palm when you come back, and like I wore my glasses, so I have to take off my glasses. Like these things add up, and like that took a solid like 2-3 minutes in itself.
And if there's a line of people,
Yeah, and if there's a line of people, also like you have to raise your hand, the proctor has to come to you. So like I'm accounting for making sure he can see me, and like he realizes I want to go on my break. So I would just try to take like as short as a break as you can when you're doing your practice exams, so that if anything you have a little bit of buffer time for the actual exam.
But I would recommend actually taking your break because
Yes.
you're gonna need those 5-6 like minutes. Like I would usually take around into account for them coming to you and that whole scanning process. But I do recommend taking those 5-6 minutes because if you, let's say you bomb Chem Phys, like I thought I bombed Chem Phys, and so my mindset was down the drain. Like I came out and I was like pissed off, but I took those 5 minutes to like go to the bathroom, drink some water, like just kind of like touch grass and just be like, there's nothing you can do about it now. Like you have to, you know. So I would, because if you like walk into like let's say cars with a bad mindset, you're gonna from Chem Phys, you're gonna ruin every single portion after it. So I would just go out, clear your mind, and like I would take those breaks. But I would just like go out for 5 minutes to account for all of those other parts that could happen.
Prisha brought up a good point earlier about when she was taking practice exams and how she'd take the breaks during practice exams. On practice exam days, you need to mimic test day as closely as possible. You know, your exam's going to be at 8 a.m. If you're going to have to drive to the testing center, account for that, and wake up at that time. Get ready, take your exam, take your breaks, and after on exam days, I was done. I didn't really study. I did my Anki deck sometimes, but even that, you know, if you have the time the next day to just catch up, maybe I'd recommend that. But on practice days, mimic the exam as closely as possible. Don't look at your phone, shut your phone off, put it away, even on breaks.
No Instagram reels.
Because you can't access your phone. They actually like put it in this like Ziploc thing and they like glue it shut or something. So you can't open it like during when you open your locker. Like you have no access. So I just wouldn't touch your phone before when you get into that like whole testing. But I do recommend like I personally. So I took it on what Friday. So that Thursday I did not really do a whole lot of like studying because I was like, you know, like let's get ready, whatever. But I do recommend the morning before, as you're like sitting in your car or like you're waiting to start testing, I recommend going through your equation sheets or like your like kind of like quick notes that you want to like look over that you like tend to forget while you're taking the exam. So I would like sit in my car and go over the equation sheet, like which I recommend having for Chem Phys because that is very highly like math based. So I would look over my equation sheet and look over like amino acids or like the DNA bases. Like I would just like look over those quick things. Like I'm not saying like pull out the textbook and read it, but like those like quick like cheat sheet type vibes, just to like calm your nerves.
And also, you guys know yourselves best. Like the day before my exam, I was studying, and my parents were yelling at me, and they're like, "You need to relax, like take the day." But you know you best. If it's gonna help you relax a little bit, give you peace of mind, knowing you knew things that you might not have known before, then study. But if you need the break, take the break. Like you know how you're gonna perform.
So now-
Make sure to watch it.
No,
They
they
make
have a
you
big
take it
analog.
off.
They have a big analog
They
clock.
actually like they have a clock and they make you take everything off. Like I wore a sweatshirt and they made me like reverse my hoodie, like pull it up, like put my hand in my pocket. They made us take all watches off, like all electronics. They put your phone away, like sweatpants. I had to pull up my sweatpants to make sure I wasn't hiding anything in my socks. Like they're very like meticulous about making sure you're not cheating. There's like a camera above you and like in front of you, and they're like sitting behind you and they're watching your screen. Like it's like I would bring as little as possible to the testing station. And they have a clock there and you're on a computer, so there is a clock like in the corner if you've ever like seen what it looks like. So you don't need a watch, and I feel like they don't make you need a watch.
Is the scoring like a super score, or is it just your best test?
It's your best test. I don't think they do super scores for LCAT.
And this might seem obvious, but I still feel like it's important to say. You'll learn really quickly once you start doing the actual AMC material, what is high yield, and that's like the stuff that you absolutely need to know. Like they love to do, like I was just talking about this earlier, like for biochem, I would say 75% of biochem is just knowing amino acids, enzyme kinetics, metabolism, and what was the one more thing that I said?
something, like gels.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
lab
separation
techniques,
techniques.
So
Like knowing all those, that's 75%. Or like another thing for like psych soc, they love to ask the same type of questions every time. Like I'd say 75% of exams you're gonna have something like fundamental attribution error. Like just learn what's high yield and make sure you know that.
So
As
when
a
you're,
base.
when you're going through practice exams and you're seeing these high yield questions, another thing they love to do is they'll reconstruct the question so that it may be another option. So think about that. When you're reading a question, I had a question that was, which amino acid does not have a beta branched side chain? Like think about how could they change this question so that maybe it would be just slightly different.
Also, like if you don't know the answers, process of elimination is your best friend here. Like for example, those amino acids, beta branch is like a specific type of amino acid. So if all of them are the same thing except this one, and you don't know what beta branching is, it's probably the one.
I can't tell you how many times that's saved.
Like process of your elimination is your best friend this entire exam, because obviously no one's gonna know everything. Like this is a standardized exam, and yes, there are high yield questions, but there's also low yield questions you probably have never seen before. So process of elimination is the way to go when you don't know.
Yeah, like the point that I was trying to make by that is there is stuff, like going into test day, there was stuff like, yeah, I just didn't know that. Like pentose phosphate pathway, we had to learn it. I never had a question on it once my entire time, so I guess it worked out that I didn't study for it. But like amino acids, you don't have a choice. You need to know amino acids like the back of your hand. You 100% will have like at least 10 questions that relate to amino acids.
And if not just like in biochem, like I had acid questions in chem phys too, because it's part of organic chemistry. So a lot of these topics that you see in one section will dip into other sections because they're so like interlinked between one another.
going off of what Krishanti said, like the specific example about the beta branch, like one thing I did is I searched it up and I was like, so what else is a beta branch? Because this question is not valid for them to ask on your real exam day. And I'm not saying they're gonna ask the exact same question, but like now you should know like what is a beta branch versus like the alpha branch ones. And I like would come up, it was like WTF was like one. That was like my way of like memorizing like the ones that are within like aromatic compounds, I believe. Like I would just come up with things like that so that it sticks in your head.
Speaking of which, I mean, I think probably most of you are in biochem, but there is an app you can get on your phone, it's free, it's the amino acid quiz game. It's kind of a fun way to learn them.
I was thinking that when you were talking about biochem.
Yeah, and if you have the option, definitely take Storman for biochem. Like,
Stage one.
This is not her 3-year. Take
We were like the last people to take it.
Is it Leslie? Or
No,
Sarah?
Sarah
Take
or
Sarah.
Belindran they have.
I would recommend.
I think she was talking about being.
Yeah, we got Belinda next semester.
Yeah, I would recommend taking it.
Sarah.
Well, you just have to study more to buy a biochem. Like that's just at the end of the day, just studying. That's the best thing.
Have you guys noticed, okay, I want to like, have you guys noticed like a pattern in the way they ask the questions and a pattern of like the answers?
I try to do that. Do not put yourself down this
Because
Yeah.
you'll be in one mindset and they'll throw you for a loop. Because I know that they are changing their exams and their formats and whatnot, and I'm sure I think they like released a new one and then took away an old exam. Also, when you're taking your MCAT, take them in an order. So I think there are now 2 MCAT exams that are actually real that they administered, that they unlocked for you. I would save those till the end. So search it up. I know our MCAT on Reddit is like really helpful. Search it up and take the ones that are like not real MCATs that AMC like made themselves that they haven't released. Take those first and then save those real MCATs for later, because that is your best representation for what it's going to
Do
be.
those come in the bundle?
Yeah, they will. I know their order isn't like these are real MCATs, these are like.
You're gonna have to look it up and figure
Yeah.
out which ones are real and which ones are
But I would save
generated
them for the
for
end.
Well,
practice.
like going back to your question, I think this pattern technique could work for practice questions, but I think on the practice exams, like you're just screwing yourself over if you are just looking for a pattern versus like just treating each question on its own is what I would say. Like I don't think it could benefit you while studying, and I definitely don't think it'll benefit you when you're taking your exams.
Sorry. So, do you guys recommend like obviously not spending a lot of time on content review and like doing practice, like most of your study can be in practice, because like you really don't spend like so much time on content.
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
If you have content gaps, you've got to fill them.
Yeah.
You know? I definitely had some big ones in psych soc. I knew zero psych soc going in, I had to fill those gaps. If I just went straight into practice, I may have memorized Anki cards, which this was a trend I saw. I memorized Anki cards, but when it came to the questions and I had to apply it, just because I knew the definition doesn't mean I could apply it. So fill your content gaps.
Yeah, so when you're like close to your MCAT, do those practice questions, but I think not knowing content makes such a big difference in how you do. Like, process of elimination can only get you so far. Like, if you don't know anything, you're not gonna do well. Like, practice only helps if you can apply what you learn. So I would really hit, like, if you hit content review well enough, you won't have to hit it later when you're practicing and you're doing bad on these questions because you don't know what it's asking.
I would say it should be a blend. Like, it shouldn't just be one day on content, one day on practice. It should be a transition, a smooth transition from content review to practice questions.
Do you recommend like reading the Kaplan chapters while doing the keyword rules, or do you think like I should finish all the Kaplan and then?
That's more personalized. Like if it helps when you read and then you test your stuff with like questions, if that helps for you, do that. Like I just read it and then did Anki to reinforce it, so like I would just have it in my head, and then I started questions during the summer, so I feel like that's just how you.
So related question, real quick. Content gaps. How did you kind of identify your gaps? Did you have certain diagnostic tools or resources or reflection? How did you kind of help navigate that process?
So on Anki, Miles Down specifically, I think Hankout even has some. When you're doing cards, below the answer, they're going to give you a YouTube link. So if I see a card and I'm like, I have no clue what this is, I've never seen it, or maybe I'm like, okay, I memorized the answer. You got to use some metacognition and realize what you're studying. If you realize you just memorized it, watch the YouTube video, and then that'll get you going down rabbit holes. Okay, I don't know. I remember I was learning about genetics because I did not learn much from genetics. And I'd go down rabbit holes because you learn one thing about DNA and then you need to figure out what a promoter is and then you need to figure out what a repressor is. And it's just, that's how you do it. Think about your own thinking.
Would you recommend taking like genetics before the MCAT or?
You can learn it all on your own. There's not that much genetics. And it's pretty basic genetics.
Also, like, do you have to memorize literally every single equation you ever learned in like Gen 1 to physics?
There's a high yield equation document online. I think it's by Miles Down.
But
When you start practicing, you'll realize what you need to know and what you don't.
Is it true that the chemistry section is going down?
We heard stuff like that all the
Yeah.
time, and it varies. It really
Like-
does vary.
mine was very like physics based, like specifically physics 2 heavy, and I had like less Gen Chem and stuff. But I think every exam is different.
I wouldn't bank on hearing one or the other.
You do need to know a lot of formulas though.
Yes.
The good part for physics though is, I forget what it's called, but when you break it down into the SI units, what's that called?
Yeah, it's
Dimensional analysis. Yeah, if you understand dimensional analysis, that's very important.
You can solve questions just by knowing dimensional
Yeah,
analysis.
units is a
Again,
huge
don't bank on that. But if you're stuck on test day,
Yeah, that's a huge thing for like especially physics related questions. All the answers will be in the units, and then you can just go look and directly like use those numbers and know that you have to do something with them. Sorry, say that again?
how much
Timeline.
I think we all started in like that first like December winter break spring semester, and then we all took it in the summer.
Are you guys C1s? I would say take the year
Yeah.
and then next year start studying.
Yeah.
You guys are smart enough. You'll be fine. I would not panic now.
Enjoy your
And take this time to actually learn, because all of this information will be on the MCAT. So just like rather than stressing about studying
Yeah.
the MCAT, actually learn in your
Yes.
classes so you can make content with your classes.
Nail on the head. I can't tell you how many times I saw something when I was studying and I was like, I remember someone talking about this, but I never took the time to actually learn it. If you take the time in your C1 year to learn the things you're being taught instead of just memorizing them for the exam, you'll be more than set when you start reviewing.
How's the time, like during?
So it depends on you, like the time per section, you mean?
Yeah.
So I think we can each speak to this maybe. For I'll start from the beginning. Chem Phys, I used most of the time after reviewing questions. You can also flag questions. So if there's a question you're unsure, always flag it, and then you come back when you have leftover time. I had probably 5 minutes left, so I used those 5 minutes to review my questions. Cars, I used every single second. Didn't have time to review, used every single second. Even if you're not going to practice cars, read. Read a book. Like, figure out how to read. That is how you do cars. Biochem, I had plenty of time, probably 10, 15 minutes left over. Psych-Soc, I always had like 30 minutes left over. It was insane.
Yeah, it's hit or miss, but everybody can agree that everybody that I've talked to can agree that cars is by far the hardest section for time management. But there's nine passages in cars in 90 minutes, so you can kind of break it up and do 10 minutes per section.
But they vary from 5 questions to 7 questions.
Yes.
So you want to get those 5-question passages done as soon as possible so you have time left over. Personally, I agree with Crescenzo. I had no time left over for cars. And so I didn't even bother flagging questions because, well, one, like once I'm done with the passage, you're reading another passage. So like to answer a question you flagged before, you have to read the passage again. So I just didn't see why I would flag them. So I didn't bother flagging questions for cars, but I would flag for every other section because you'll have at least 2 to 3, maybe even 5 minutes left over for Chem Phys. Like I would do finish the thing and I had 5 questions left, so I would do all I could was flag questions again. Biochem, I had also about like 10 minutes left, so I would do those 5 questions. Psych-Soc is kind of like the end, and it's like you just like finish them really quickly. I also had like around like 20 minutes left, and I had enough time to go through all of the questions again, because you actually just sit there and you don't know what else to do. So I would just like go through all of those questions again. You have the time to do it, so just like take your time and go through it.
Yeah, Psych-Soc is the most memorization based of the 4, so.
You'll go through them quick.
Basically, you gotta like decide how much time you want to spend on each passage, right?
I would recommend about 10 minutes, but like give
I mean, like each section.
Oh.
I'm not sure you mean.
Like, there's 4 sections, right?
Yes.
There are 90 minutes. Every section is 90 minutes.
Alright, so would you finish like faster? And you use that time for another section?
Oh, you can't.
No,
You
no.
can't do that.
You can either use it to review, or you can take your break, or you can sit there and do nothing if you want to take a mental break.
It's like any standardized exam, like your ACT, you have this much time to finish it, and you can't use that time for another section.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
This
The
is
most
fun.
boring thing
I-
you can think
I
of,
hate
like, it is, I had something about like architecture or like art history, or something about Beethoven, like it's like the most boring things you can think of.
I had about Michelangelo, and I was like,
Yeah, like
I
I
don't
think
like
Hey,
it.
the
It's
arts
just
aren't
like-
boring.
it's just
Come on,
focus.
STEM friends.
But it's like you're
You're
like
like
stressed,
so
like high intensity, like you're, and then it'll put you to sleep. But like it's like I think half the battle is like actually caring about it enough, so like when you read it, like you'll like actually remember key parts and stuff. And I read, like what Crescenzo said, I like didn't do cars practice, but I read, so like my mind could still be in that whole like, okay, let me read this fast, but still be able to understand it, because that's the key to like cars passages.
My favorite game is trying to like come up with your own cars title. It'll the habits of basket weavers in the Western Midwest, something like that, or like the diffusion of grain throughout Eastern Europe. Like I'm trying to think. My brother had one that was like extinction from the point of view of a dinosaur. It was like,
That's fun.
but they give you if you look, there's isn't there like certain topics, like there will always be one about art history, there will always be one about like
Religion, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Philosophy is a big one that they hit on, because that like they like asking questions like, if you were the author, what would you think about this situation? Like, which is why I'm telling you, do not use your knowledge or your opinions or anything about you when you're answering questions, because it is a very like, it's not subjective, it's like objective. There's one right answer. If you were the author, you would choose this. Like, just don't have anything else about you.
Pretty sure actually gave me a really good piece of advice for cars, and that is to trick yourself into thinking you're enjoying what you're reading.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard, but if you can convince yourself like, oh, I'm so excited to learn about Michelangelo, then it makes it a little better. I know.
honestly gaslight myself, and I would like read the first like 1 or 2 sentences, and I would like make sure I was engaged. I'd be like, wow, this is so exciting, or like, actually I don't agree with this, and like that's just how I kept track that I would actually like follow through with the passage and know what it's saying at the same time.
a rhythm is super important for cars, more so than the other sections.
Any final questions on your minds?
I'm just trying to get ahead so that when
Yeah.
it's time for the actual prep phase, but I'm not figuring out how to prepare.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I just wouldn't stress
Good plan.
about it right now.
Just make sure you enjoy your first year too, because you're getting it acclimated and like the second year is hard because you're taking those classes.
Just take your classes seriously now, figure out how to study, learn what works for you, and then it'll be so much easier for classes.
I have two questions actually. One of my friends is trying to prepare for the MCAT, and she says there's like 4 or 5 different pathways, and each of them are like different expensive, one is expensive, one is not. So she has to choose wisely. What is like a pathway to like
So
study?
I think I know what she's talking about. So the cheapest option would be do nothing. Well, we're not going to do that. The second best option to spend the least money is AMC, which we would all say is required. You know, if you need to go get a job for a weekend and make $300, I highly recommend you try and do it. I know $300 for some people can be a lot. We understand. Just try and do that. That is going to be so useful for you. After that, the next step would be UWorld. UWorld is how much?
It is a lot. It's like 500. Yeah, around 500.
UWorld's 400, 500. If you can afford it, do it. I think they would agree with that, right? They use it. I did not use UWorld. Looking back, I probably would have. I used only AMC. And then I think the next and probably one of the final options would be to get a personalized tutor. These are extremely expensive. I've heard anywhere from 5 to 10 grand. I don't know if money grows on trees in your family. Maybe you could do it, but otherwise, I would stick to the basics.
I tried to save a few bucks and not get UWorld, and I ended up taking my MCAT 3 times, so I think you should probably do UWorld. I regret not using it. But yeah, it was very, very, very helpful. It was nice, the explanations that it gave you the percentage like of what other people wrote. Like I highly recommend it, and you'll save money by taking it only once when you do really well on it because you studied so hard.